Good morning. Welcome to the fourth and last part of the RPAS webinar series. We have come a long way, and we would like to sincerely thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of this webinar. Drones, as we all know, are changing the way countless jobs are done, from movie filming and real estate marketing to agricultural mapping and smokestack inspections. They are also changing the way we as an agency are doing business. Look, after 3 parts of this webinar, we are not strangers anymore. We are partners in innovation and in safety. Part of the reason that all of us here have worked so hard to communicate and educate and must continue to do so is so that safety can propel innovation and innovation can propel progress. Today we amplified part 4 of our webinar series to make it up to the first part that we were cut off. We included technology update apart from RPAS operator certification and industry update. Welcome to the last part of the RPAS webinar series. Planning to use your RPAS for business? Our first speaker is Mr. Wilhelmino Guevara Jr. John will discuss the requirements and procedures in relation to RPAS operator certification.
Good day, everyone. I'm Mr. John Guevara of the Flight Operations Department. I'm honored here to discuss to you on how to acquire a remotely piloted aircraft system operator certificate, or ROC. So please share my presentation. The Flight Operations Department of the Flight Standard Inspectorate Service is the office involved in the certification of different air operators in the Philippines. That includes ROC. As the aviation technology has advanced over the years, the use of RPAS in our everyday life has become more popular, especially in activities like photography, video shoot, geographical mapping, and surveying. These are some examples of activities where you can use an RPAS. In addition to that, RPAS can also be used for revenue purposes, or what we call the commercial operations. How do you interpret an ROC? So, how do you interpret a commercial use of RPAS? So when a job is or a project is conducted using RPAS in connection or in consideration of money or for remuneration, it is considered a commercial operation. So hence, an RPAS operator certificate, or ROC, is required. Be it noted that an ROC is necessary when it is used or utilized for commercial purposes, regardless of its weight. So, regardless of weight, you need to acquire an ROC. Currently, the most widely used RPAS type of operations in the Philippines are the following. First, we have aerial surveying. So this is commonly used by engineers to collect geomatics or other imagery. We actually inspected quite a number of operators in the industry. Next is the aerial application. Drones are used for agriculture, for example. We have inspected one in Davao, wherein DJI grass was used in banana plantation. Next is power line inspections. So drones are a great help to electricity linemen, especially in checking possible faulty lines. So instead of climbing several power line posts, it is, or it would be safer and more convenient for them to use drones. With the use of drones, all they have to do is to control it, and they can immediately distinguish which post is faulty using the aerial view. Next is the aerial photography and videography. So this has the most number of certificates that we have issued in our office. Last is the aerial advertising. There are instances where multiple drones are flown in a coordinated fashion for public display. This is called a drone show. You may have seen it a couple of times already. Now we go to the procedures or phases on how we certify an applicant for an ROC. So we have a 5-phase certification process. Phase 1 is the pre-application. This is where the applicant submits their declaration of intent for the operational approval for their ROC. A letter of intent should be submitted to the FSIS or the Flight Standard Inspectorate Service. This is normally accompanied by a pre-application statement of intent form or the PASI form. A meeting may be arranged with the operator, or the operator may simply just submit their application. Afterwards, we will provide you the initial requirements for the issuance of an ROC. So, what are the initial requirements? These requirements are provided under Philippine Civil Aviation Regulations Part 11 and CAAP Advisory Circular 11-01. You may download a copy of this at the CAAP website. Now we go to the next phase. The phase 2, the initial application review. It is the certification that handles the formal application in this phase. You will submit the initial requirements for ROC, which will be date stamped for processing. After receiving the documents, our office will assess the documents in order to determine if the contents of the applicants are, or the contents of the application are acceptable to this authority. Is it complete or all the required documents are there? So if the documents are complete, we will schedule a formal meeting with the applicant to officially accept or reject the application. If the application is rejected, you need to simply comply what the inspectors would require for its approval. If accepted, we proceed to phase 3. Phase 3, the document conformance. We will now evaluate the documents submitted by the applicants. We initially evaluate the applicant's organization and key personnel associated with the proposed operation. If the certification team has any objection regarding the proposed organization or key personnel, we will inform the applicant. We will also evaluate the submitted manuals and other pertinent documents. So interim approvals and acceptance will be formally provided to the applicant as each document is reviewed and found to be acceptable. Now we go to phase 4. Phase 4 is the inspection and demonstration phase. So in this phase consists of a series of sampling inspections by the certification team as the applicant begins training and takes inspect of their facilities and RPAS equipment. These inspections may take place together with the evaluation of some document depending on the applicant's readiness. So in this phase, observations and inspection will be conducted to ascertain whether the infrastructure and support arrangements are acceptable to this authority. So we normally do these inspections. So we inspect manual inspections. We evaluate and observe if you are able to follow the procedures stated in your manuals. The facility inspections. So visual inspection of the facility is important. We check the facility if it is safe for an employee to work or if the equipment and components are properly stored. Next is the organization inspection. We inspect the general responsibilities of each personnel in the organization. That includes the management and their staff. Next is the RPAS inspection and demonstration. So, how prepared the applicant is or how compliant they are with the checklist provided to show the operational procedures of their RPAS. So, how will you demonstrate to the authority that your operation is safe? So, you are going to demonstrate the flight procedures that you inputted in your manuals. So you are going to follow the procedures step by step. Last is the personal qualifications. We're going to check the applicant if he able to meet the responsibilities assigned to them. So we now go to phase 5, the final certification. Congratulations! So yeah, this is the final phase. This is where we will award you with the ROC or the RPAS operator certificate together with operations specifications. So this must be received by the applicant before conducting any commercial operations. So no operations other than those listed in these documents are authorized for an ROC holder or its management or its controller or RPAS. So now maybe you're going to ask me this. Are we allowed to operate in restricted areas? Like in populated area or near the airport? So of course, no, because it's still prohibited in or under our regulations. But you may apply for a flight permit, which you will acquire from the FOD or the Flight Operations Department, which is also my department. Then we will allow you to operate on restricted areas. So how can we file for a flight permit? It's easy. I'll show you. Applying for a flight permit. So we have a 72 hours processing time upon receipt of FOD permit section of your application. So if the requirements are complete. So what are the requirements? First is you need to submit a letter intent addressed to Assistant Director General to FSIS or the OIC FSIS, stating your purpose, specific time and date, and the coordinates or the location of the event. So what are the attachments of this, your letter? A copy of ROC. Next is a copy of registration, RPA registration. Next is a copy of RPA controller certificate. Then J2 clearance from AFP intelligence. This is under the presidential decree number 1178. So that is if you are going to operate your RPAS with camera. So if not, like for example, RPAS drone show, which they only use lights, no need for a J2 clearance. This is important because if your aircraft has a camera and it flies over a military camp or a confidential area, then it can compromise security. Let us be reminded that we have to be responsible operators and permits that we have is not a license for us just to do what we want to do. So we have to consider a lot of things. And lastly, the prescribed fee. So the prescribed fee will depend on the purpose of the operations. Okay. So I hope I was able to clearly discuss to you the procedures on how to acquire an ROC and how to acquire a flight permit. So thank you very much for listening. Have a great day ahead.
Not yet decided on what industry to engage in? Our second speaker, Mr. Julian Teodoro, will discuss the latest trends in the RPAS industry. Julian is an entrepreneur and owner of Unmanned Aerial System Consulting.
Start recording queue. So ready and action. Okay, good day. This webinar will discuss the updates on the Philippine RPAS industry. This is part 4 of the webinar series on remotely piloted aircraft systems. And this is hosted by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines. First, I'd like to thank RSD for inviting me to show you the potential RPAS operator on what industries you can get into. So I'm TJ from UAS. I've been working with RPAS for about 10 years now, ranging from services, operations, integration, and management support. And I've even helped out other RPAS operators get their companies going. This presentation is geared towards individuals or companies that intend to get into the RPAS industry and but don't know where to begin and what kind of industries you can get into using RPAs or drones. So let's get started on the first slide. So uh, RPAS or drones is a solution looking for a problem. And here are the industries that have used RPAS in one form or another. And I will brush on these on the following slides in detail. First is recreation. So personal use, professional drone racing, basically toys. Photo and video. So you have your photography or videography for events, media, and all these other uses. Uh, Industrial, which dives into more high resolution mapping, inspection, and also logistics. Also, we have agriculture. So it's mapping for agronomy, doing aerial application, analysis, and all these other things. We have security for surveillance. We have entertainment. So this is more on the advertising, visual displays, basically what they call drone shows. We have also systems integration. So this is where an engineer or somebody experienced in electronics or even drones to customize, build, or repair drones basically. And we have training. So what this is more on teaching new new pilots or new controllers in the industry how to get started. So, photo and video. This is where it all started. So, general for photo and video, this can range from documenting events such as running events, marathons, um, advertising as well. Again, audiovisual presentations for companies or for corporations. Next one is cinematography. So this is getting very popular because in, getting popular in place of using manned aircraft because it's very affordable to operate a drone as compared to a full size manned aircraft. And of course, we have media and current affairs. You see it all the time on TV or on cable or on TV shows. And most, if not all, media outlets in the Philippines use consumer RPAS for their news and TV shows. always. And for most, photo and video is where the starting point is for most RPAS controllers or operators that I know. And now they've moved on to more technical service offerings after they're done with the video and photo job and work. So of course we have industrial. So first is the RPAS-based photogrammetry. This is creating better than satellite high resolution maps at a fraction of the cost, even with manned aircraft. There's also inspection. So you'll be using these to document structures like bridges, mobile phone towers, like in the photo there, buildings. I mean, even a nuclear power plant. So it's a more cost-effective solution to inspecting structures than using a full-scale aircraft. And to add, for both photogrammetry and inspection, consumer RPAs like the DJI Phantom and the Mavic series have been popular due to their relatively low cost. Um, and in addition, the software required to process these images or data sets can be now obtained for a monthly, quarterly, or yearly subscription as compared to before that we have to buy the full software package, which can run into about 6 digits, and you can't know if that's the right software for you. So now it's more accessible to more people now. With logistics, with larger RPAS platforms and with larger power systems, more efficient batteries, it's now possible to deliver items over long distances. So that's also one field that you can get into. It's logistics. Okay, next, uh, agriculture. Know the crop, fix the problem, and get better yields. And down the line, you earn more money. So basically, that's it. And this is an example of a agriculture RPAS. But I'll start with precision agriculture first. I mean, now there are special cameras called multispectral sensors. Data collected from these sensors can be used to determine plant health, soil health, early detection of diseases, using specialist software and of course training. And you can procure ready-made RPAs fitted with these sensors out of the box, or you can buy the sensors themselves and put it onto your own existing drone. Second is aerial application or spraying. Um, most drone spraying systems now can cover 1 hectare of land in about 15 to 20 minutes. And compare that to manual means where you have a person with a pump in the back that can cover the same area in half a day. So that's the efficiency side of it, flying versus walking. And these are widely used nowadays. There's in Mindanao, there's one in up north. So these are getting popular also as a line of business to get into. And but there are more requirements outside the CAAP. One example is the requirement for a permit from the FPA, the Fertilizer and Pesticide Authority. So that's also one thing that's one thing you have to consider if you're going to get into the spraying business. And the third is aerial application, so seed spraying. So it's using the same platform as you see in the photo, and instead of dispersing liquid, it's dispersing seeds. So same concept. You're using a flying machine to disperse seed in a wide area as compared to one person throwing a seed from arm's length at about for only a few feet away. So this is also the efficiency of spreading seeds in a short period of time. Okay, next slide. Okay, security. So, let the drone take the risk. So this is one example of a security purpose drone. Um, First function is basically property security. Private security agencies are now using small RPAS to scan or surveil perimeter fences of their property. Subdivisions do it. Um, Big industrial facilities also they do drone-based or RPAS-based surveys. Um, Success stories are they've located pathways of trespassers who wants to steal something from the property, or even to do some bodily harm as well. So we don't. So now it's a force multiplier for these agencies that have these drones in their inventory. Second is law enforcement. So now it's being widely used by our enforcement agencies for surveillance and also monitoring of events. And these have been helpful to document incidents or monitor incidents from a more safer vantage point as compared to one person being on the ground at harm's way. Third is defense use. So larger RPAs now are being employed by the Philippine government for territorial defense and even internal security operations. So we have those now. Next is entertainment. So get wonderful artistic shots, wow the audience. And one good example is this. It's a drone show. So number one is advertising. Using your RPAS to carry a payload such as a banner, a company logo, or some other gimmick that the agency or the client would want. So that's one example. Uh, Second is drone swarms or drone light shows. And more companies now are getting into this kind of business, using the drone swarms or drone fleets to project light in pre-programmed light shows. And this is using dozens of small RPAs fitted with LEDs, and it's basically done by a computer program and only operated by one person. And and also, I'd like to ask the RSD if what is the current stand of the CAP with regards to the drones as well for these kinds of kind of aerial work. Systems integration, that's what we specialize in. There's always a need to upgrade or to build something special. So one is basically customization. Um, sensors and sensor and payload integration on existing RPA systems. You may want to increase the payload. You may want to add more performance or add more capabilities. So, for example, clients would like to integrate magnetometers or even LiDAR systems onto RPAs for engineering use. Um, Mobile phone companies would like to put frequency counters or software-defined radios to inspect mobile phone towers. So it's not only photo and video. There's also other uses for drones for specific uses or for specific industries. Some have even asked to integrate a drone like on the photo there on the right for carrying medicines, putting it in cold boxes and transporting them, over a river or over a body of water. So there is a market also for systems integration. Uh, Also bespoke platforms. I mean, some have asked to integrate um, a similar quadcopter drone like that with a different power system, hydrogen or a different kind of battery system. So there are other pretty unique requirements that some would need to have a drone carry. Okay, next slide is training. So you have to start from somewhere. Um, this is another non-operation side to getting RPAs is knowledge training or knowledge transfer. This is basically teaching somebody with zero time or zero experience to use a drone responsibly and of course following regulations and rules. There's also industry specific training. So you do have a drone, you do have an RPA, but you want to do something else, not just video. It can be um, creating maps or photogrammetry, like what I mentioned on the last slide. It can be how to integrate certain things to a drone, or even building it from scratch as well. So there's a lot of um, industries that you can get into, or a lot of jobs you can get into by getting into the specific industry. And of course, technical support and servicing. I mean, similar with real aircraft, it's not always the pilots that are that are in the spotlight. The real guys in the spotlight is the maintainers and the maintenance people that keep these units running. So that's also one. Okay. So um, from GPS, ultrasonic sensors, and computer vision, they're now reducing pilot error and having less accidents. And now that RPAS have more smarter flight control systems. So with all the sensors working in this system, you have your cameras, you have your sensors, you have your whatnot in these more modern consumer drones that it's there's more or less accidents that can happen. So there's now smarter flight control systems. There are now systems that you can have the range and the altitude of a fixed wing RPAS, but with the ease of use with the quad rotor. So these are basically VTOL or vertical takeoff and landing systems. So it combines the advantage of the fixed wing aircraft with the ease of use of a vertical takeoff and landing uh, drone. Oops. So it is now the right time to get into RPAS. First of all, there's more entry points with a variety of platforms. You have um, a lot of vendors, you have a lot of systems integrators, you have a lot of places where you can buy these. That's one. Second is flight control systems. So as I said, safety. Um, Now they're intelligent. They have more safety features now, like they stop you from going into airports. They restrict you from going up to a specific altitude. They they tell you that it's not that the drone is going too far and not have enough battery to come back. Which these make all these systems make it easier to operate the RPAS than ever before. And of course, over the years, thanks to stakeholder support, like the two that I organized a few years back, CAAP has made an effort to simplify the RPAS compliance process. And it's no better time to get into the industry. We have affordable RPAS platforms now for a variety of purposes. We have subject matter experts or trainers that can provide guidance in getting your organization off the ground. And like what I said, um, it's easier now with smarter flight control systems. I mean, newer drones now they'll come out will have AI, which can basically reduce pilot error and keep you out of trouble. So, um, yeah, thank you. This concludes my presentation. I hope you are better informed on the current landscape of the RPAS industry in the Philippines. I really wish you all the best in your endeavors and stay safe. And thank you very much.
Just when you thought we are done, we have a bonus for you. Let us talk about technology updates, the new capabilities of the latest drones, which will be discussed by Mr. Hans Yabontoy. Hans is the key accounts manager of PH Global Kids Smart Future Tech Incorporated.
Hi, I am Hans from PH Global. We're the sole distributor for DJI here in the Philippines, and I'll be discussing with you today the technological updates for UAVs. Okay. So UAV started back in 1883 when they wanted to first capture an aerial photograph. So what they did was they attached a camera to a flying kite, then there they captured the first aerial photograph. Then in 1933, when the British Army wanted to create a flying target, they designed a low-cost radio-controlled target aircraft, the Queen Bee. And it was the first successful UAV to be able to fly back. Then next, fast forward to 2010, where the first commercial UAV was announced to the public. So the first ready-to-fly drone was released to the public. It was a remote controlled via Wi-Fi using a smartphone and has a 12-minute flight time at 5 meters per second. So here are the latest technological updates for UAVs. So most drones these days have active tracking. So what this do is it recognizes and automatically follows people and objects like cars and boats. Then for active tracking, for the latest active tracking, it is much smoother and it follows these objects and people more accurately. Then next is the return to home. It calculates the optimal return route based on the environment and obstacles. So based from the GPS, it will automatically return.
Start recording queue.
Just when you thought we are done, we have a bonus for you.
1933, when the British Army wanted to create a flying target, they designed.
Just when you thought we are
Then in 1933, when the British Army wanted to create a flying target, they designed a low-cost radio-controlled target aircraft, the Queen Bee. And it was the first successful UAV to be able to fly back. Then next, fast forward to 2010, where the first commercial UAV was announced to the public. So the first ready-to-fly drone was released to the public. It was a remote controlled via Wi-Fi using a smartphone and has a 12-minute flight time at 5 meters per second. So here are the latest technological updates for UAVs. So most drones these days have active tracking. So what this do is it recognizes and automatically follows people and objects like cars and boats. Then for active tracking, for the latest active tracking, it is much smoother and it follows these objects and people more accurately. Then next is the return to home. It calculates the optimal return route based on the environment and obstacles. So based from the GPS, it will automatically return or fly back home once executed. Then next is real-time flight path. For UAVs, flight path is a common technology, but for the latest update, we have the real-time flight path. What it does is you can draw the flight path in your controller and execute it immediately. And next is most drones these days are designed more compact and silent, with some drones even having registered at 55 decibels. Then next is video streaming. Most drones these days have long distance and high quality video stream from the drone to the controller, even recording up to 4K video with less latency. The next is intelligent flight battery. So what this does do is it shows and prompts the remaining battery and flight time for the drone. And the drones these days have a battery capable of up to 30 minutes. Then here are the industrial drones update. Industrial drones are designed to help in commercial uses and enterprises. So some drones are high endurance. So these drones can reach up to 5 hours of flight time. Then next is heavy payload. Some drones are designed to carry heavy payloads, registering up to 200 kilograms or an estimate of 441 pounds. Then some industrial drones have longer and better transmission systems. So these transmissions can reach up to 15 kilometers away while supporting triple channel 1080p video transmission. So based from these current updates, what I can say to the future is there's a limitless possibility. Like maybe next time we can incorporate the latest technologies like AI or better software, better hardware. The possibility is limitless, and incorporating it to drones is unlimited. All. Mic on.
Mic on.
Mic on.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the fourth part of the RPAS webinar series. We will discuss your operator certification, industry, and technology update. As what you can observe today, I am with Mr. Wilhelmino Guevara Jr., the Assistant Aviation Safety Inspector of the Flight Operations Department of SSIS. We have online Mr. Julian Teodoro, an entrepreneur. We cannot have him live here because Julian just came from Holo. Am I right, Julian?
Yes, I have.
Yes, and so we can't risk the safety of our people. Good thing we have the technology. And we also have here Mr. Hans Yobontoy, the key accounts manager of PH Global Kids Smart Future Tech. And he was the one who discussed the technology update. And if you can observe, to those who were with us in part one of our webinar, we brought back here Mr. John Rafael Escobar, an entrepreneur, and he's the owner and manager of the Lazarus yes, IT solution. So kailangan ko ng backup because so we thought of having a drone enthusiast here. So Mr. John Rafael Escobar here will be our moderator, our co-moderator, and our guest. So as we have promised, we will make it up to you. So maybe it's about time for the drone enthusiast to ask many things about the industry and the technology and for your operations as well. So let's start the ball rolling. Oh, for a while we have here Mr. Hans Pibontoy, nakahabol. Sir, please. Here.
Hi.
Please observe social distancing, sir. Medyo mahirap. Yeah. I'm sorry, we had an emergency. So let's start the ball rolling. I think first question here from Mr. Arvin Pagana. Hi. In RPAS operator certification, do we need to apply for operator certificate even if the facilities and equipments or parts, etc., is outside of the Philippines?
Mm, how can you operate if the facilities is outside
Of
the
Philippines.
Philippines?
So, what is covered?
Yeah, we had a experience before. We had some international clients. What they did is that they partnered with a local operator in order to provide those facilities. At the same time, it would be cost efficient, and then at the same time, it also gives an opportunity to hire Filipino talents here. So that can be one case. But if they are planning, if this international or multinational company plans to establish their own the department here utilizing drones, I think they are required or they are required to put up their operator certificate.
Julian, have you experienced this kind of where the facility and equipment or parts is outside of the Philippines? Have you encountered this scenario?
Like what the other with the other resource person said is that we usually recommend that it's a partnership between the local operator and the foreign entity because there's so much paperwork involved in terms of having foreign registered equipment operate in Philippine airspace, especially if you're just gonna be here for 1 week, 2 weeks. You can't just have an RPU registered again, get new controller certificates for the individual foreign operators. So it's more cost effective, like what the other resource guy said, is to just work with the local guys because we've experienced that when we're asking FOD, even if it's a US registered drone, you still have to go through the process, and at times, um, they don't really have the time to get all of those paperworks, you know, uh, uh, processed basically in time for their schedules.
Second question here. Yes.
To add, uh, in our Philippine Civil Aviation regulations, we do not have the validation of a operator certificate right now. Um, but if pag nailagay na si validation ng validation for operator certificate, pwede pwede na kayong makapag-operate dito sa Philippines, but you need to establish a station. Even though yung base operation nyo is outside the country, you need to establish pa rin ng station dito sa Philippines to operate.
Okay. That's good. Hindi ko alam yan. So, we have a second question. From support DJI. Who will be the one to register as operator? Is it the company or an employee of a company?
It should be the company. Operator certificate is a franchise given to the company, but not to the controller.
In actual practice, Julian, what happens?
We've provided support for other companies to register their companies with the CAP. There's about 2 companies that I can mention. It's really the company first that you have to register. But in terms of the workflow, kasi it's first of all, I think the prerequisites are you have to register the controller first, then to prove that they actually can fly drones. Second is the the operator, which is the company itself, and also the drones itself. So it's a three-step process kasi siya, for you to be fully legal to fly in Philippine airspace. There's really three components there involved. So that's going to be a part of the FOD, the airworthiness, and the licensing. So you have to deal with these three offices for you to be really fully registered and fully compliant with the PICAR.
What about for ano lang to siya, offshoot lang siya, or I also read a question asking, what about for local governments like DepEd or the local government units where they issue their employees drones?
For now, ang binibigyan lang talaga natin ng RPAS operator certificate is those for commercial operations. But since yung mga government natin is nagpapalipad din for their projects, mga operations nila. And since kailangan kasi nila magkaroon ng limitations eh. Doon sa RPAS Operator Certificate, may kasamang operations specification. Si operations specification kasi, andun yung lahat ng limitations na binibigay sa drones. Yung isa, if they apply for a night flying, ilalagay doon sa operation specification na pwede sila magpalipad at night. Pero dadaan pa rin sila sa certification process. So, kailangan din talaga nila ng operator certificate.
Yes, Julian, you were saying?
No, actually, I think it was John that also provided us guidance with one of the municipal governments. A governor requested a letter for his operators to be certified with GAHAP. So I think the guidance that FOD gave us was at least all the controllers would have a controller certificate. So they have to go to GAHAP, they have to get their exams, and then after that, I think it was between FOD and the provincial government who were discussing kung ano yung mga limitations nila. And I think most of their operations are only within their capital building and also their infrastructure works. So I don't know, since it's government to government, I was not privy to the discussions already. But our part was to train the operators and get them to pass both the practical and the written exams. Yun lang talaga yung requirement na binigay sa amin ng FOD on behalf of the government. So, John can clarify that siguro for you.
Yes. What about you, sir? May na-experience ba kayo na local government or government agencies that sought for your training or
Actually, for what this is just my observation and my opinion. I think for enforcement agencies, like for example, for PIDEA, PNP, for drone registration might not be required since there must be let's say confidentiality in their operations, and it might be a point of what they call this risk for them to be exposed. But for let's say disaster for educational institution or LGUs, barangay, or let's say DENR, I think it's but proper for them to also register and coordinate with having a operator certificate. Simply because I mean they can plan their RPAS operation, and sometimes these operator certificate are prerequisite for those permits, especially for J2, and then they're conducting operations outside, let's say Metro Manila. They would have to coordinate that there's an operation. Otherwise, other organizations might miscommunicate it, and then it might cause conflict.
Yes, I also remember during our third part, Mr. Eclarenal, si Mr.
From
Edward,
ATS.
yes, from ATS, he would always remind na there should be a proper communication, proper coordination with the different agencies. Kasi we would always remind, and siguro everybody, yung mga nakasubaybay sa atin, na siguro inisip nila, you are always promoting safety. Yes, you are promoting safety because hindi lang we would time and again say that there are low altitude flying aircrafts that also yung sumasabay doon sa mga drones natin. So it needs proper coordination, and we would always promote safety kasi mahirap na it takes one bad actor and one bad incident para magkaroon ng stricter guidelines.
Yes, and in addition, this is a documentation for liability. Of course, even LGUs are not exempted for that one. We also have to properly identify that these drones are operated by the government. Okay, if in case something happens, who will be communicate to. So imagine if all drones are unmarked and they're flying um, in restricted spaces. So who will be, and then it caused an accident, who will be liable for that one? So again, it's more of a question of public safety to also secure this kind of documents, such as the operator certificate.
So if I may ask for the technology side, we are talking here about local governments and government entities. Do you have clients who are also buying drones from you? And if you have, ano yung mga technology or features na hinahanap nila?
Uh, Usually we have more of consumer use like hobbyists. Then most drones usually mga construction company rin. They use it for construction.
For construction purposes.
For agriculture, we also have the ADRAS for.
Yeah. But for the local governments, wala pa rin na-encounter.
I think the resellers are the one handling those.
Yes.
Because they are the distributors.
Oh.
Yeah, for this one.
I think our sellers selling to some LGUs.
So what particular, if you were to recommend for LGUs, kasi they may also be thinking of getting a drone for maybe for surveillance or for for monitoring. What technology does the drone industry offer?
When it comes to drones, pwede kong pagdating yung product.
The enterprise.
Enterprise?
Usually, maybe I can also help them with this because we also got the chance to also work with them and also work with LGUs. Usually, LGUs would secure those drones capable of it's either a PA system or a zone function for inspection. So those are some of the common use, but I don't know. Maybe Julian also had some experience with LGUs. Maybe are they using it for other purposes, for photogrammetry? I don't think LGUs usually do that.
I mean, most of the LGUs kasi it's number one is more for AVP, all of these things what they do. But there are increasing number of LGUs that are looking into their HADR rescue. So they're gearing more towards the ability to play at night, looking for his signature. So there are affordable systems now in the 300 to 400,000 peso, well, 400K range that has its capabilities. The next is really more on increasing the capability of the current drones, like extra software to follow roads with waypointing and all of these things. And that can be just an add-on to the existing Mavic Phantom system, just a different tablet, a different app. Apart from that, it's more. That's about it. But for government, kasi I handle larger equipment. It's more of ADSB out, and all of these other set and avoid technologies. So I'm in discussions with the guys that up on how to get on the procedures on sense and avoid on drones as well. So maybe John can clarify the process.
You have something to add? I Our next question.
The time is
This came from the
11
first
o'clock
part
a.m.
of our webinar from Mr. Ed Tipan. What certification or certifications does media need to secure since most coverage nowadays are done in public and populated areas?
Yes, certification. You need to acquire ROC. Since marami na kasing media din nagpapalipad, so in mostly populated pa nga eh. So, kailangan po natin na first po is kailangan natin magkaroon ng ROC. So next nun, before pa magpalipad is yung coordination. Kailangan may flight permit po tayo. Nakalagay po sa regulations natin na restricted po yung mga populated area, yung 10-kilometer radius sa airport, and yung 400 feet. Then, dun din sa regulation natin, nakalagay na kailangan natin ng authorization. Yun po yung flight permit, sir. So, sa flight permit, na-discuss ko naman kanina kung ano yung mga requirements natin. So, may 72 hours tayo na processing time. Upon receipt ng permit section ng Flight Operations Department. And then, dapat kumpleto na yung mga requirements na nandun na nakatouch na siya. So, kasama na yung J2 clearance doon.
Which is, J2 clearance po kasi minsan, yan yung cause ng delay ng iba.
Yes, yun yung matagal kunin. Depende siya sa, sa...
Urgency?
Depende siya sa lugar. Sa lugar din. Kung gaano, coordinate pa kasi nila yan. Kung, like for example, kung may military base dito, so i-coordinate pa yan nila.
Sometimes they would ask auxiliary or reservists to also accompany the team for the particular project to monitor it, also to communicate to their base. So these are some of the common issues that we encounter, also experiences that we have. I think across all industries, operator certificate, whether you're in media, whether you're mapping, there's no exception that you get it. The only difference is that you will have a different specifications of operations. So if you're in media, you are required to secure the controller certificate, the registration for the drone, and then at the same time operator certificate. Now, if you want to fly over, let's say, a populated area, you must secure, of course, scheduled naman yung mga usually festivals na ganyan. You must also secure the appropriate permits, whether to the LGU, to CAAP, to J2. So these things are necessary because again, it involves public safety. So,
Yes.
Sige. Also, i-add ko na lang din. Check din po natin kung may may city ordinance dun sa lugar na pagpapaliparan natin.
Yes. I-check din yung mga city ordinances na yun. Do you have something to add, Julian? Yes?
Just one clarification for John. Kasi sa PICAR Part 11 kasi, meron sa 11.9, News Media and Traffic Reporting. Can RPAS be applied to PICAR 11.9? Kasi there is a line there for basically news media and reporting. So
that is for manned aircraft.
Yeah, pero would there be a way, maybe a review na para sila mga media maging fall under that category? Or amendment?
Operation specifications nung nila, yung kanilang drones na in-apply. That is why we encourage you to apply for an ROC. Kasi doon makikita doon sa operator certificate, doon sa OPSPECs ninyo. Sa OPSPECs ninyo, kung ano yung mga limitations, kung ano yung pwedeng gawin sa drones. And maybe also, I think this webinar is good for the development of our regulations. At least makikita natin dito kung ano yung pwede natin improve, ano yung pwedeng i-tailor fit natin sa Philippine setting for us to improve din yung regulations natin.
Actually, gusto ko nga, coming from the, in the industry, na magkaroon din ng mga proposals para dun sa gagawin namin regulations, may sama po kung applicable sa atin yung mga proposals ninyo.
Yes, that would be very good. We are talking now here about media. Ita, I will bravely ask you, what about, kasi may nagtanong din dito, what about the, mababash ka nito, what about the vloggers? What about the vloggers using, using their drones?
So, balik tayo, under the Philippine Civil Aviation Regulations natin, ang ano ba to? Ang regulate natin is commercial operation. So, sa pagbablog nyo po ba is hindi kayo nag-generate ng income? Tanong natin yun.
Yeah.
Kung nag-generate kayo ng income using drone, so, papasok na siya sa commercial operation. So, kailangan natin kumuha ng ROC. Sorry.
Something to add.
I think whether who you are, as long as you're classified as a recreational or as a commercial, you're a vlogger for personal, you don't have any subscribers, you don't do this or on a frequent basis, you don't generate revenues. As long as you follow the regulations to fly in open areas allowed by the city or local government, I think you are not required, but again, we encourage you to observe regulations. But if you regularly do or you do this for a living, you get advertisers, endorsements, or you plan to follow this direction, I would highly encourage you to get a controller certificate, have your drones registered, and get your operator certificate because again, it's forming like a business, and then at the same time, it would also be good for vloggers to also promote public safety in their
Yes.
vlogs, right?
Yes.
I know that you can perform your vlogs even if without aerial, not unless your vlog is about aerial, but again, you're generating revenues from this, might as well follow the civil aviation guidelines on commercial use. So that's what I can share.
Also, so that they would know the regulations, the limitations. Do you have something to add, Julian?
Ano, I'm okay. Cool.
Nasa malayo ka eh, kaya
Ay, okay lang. That's correct. Oh, yeah.
So, also, we are, kasi baka sabihin nila na this CAEP would like to generate money out of the vloggers there. Ang ano po namin is that we are not compelling anybody. Of course, we encourage you to register, but we are talking here about safety, and we would again repeat it over and over again that we have to consider a lot of things in our airspace, and hindi kasi siya katulad dito sa ground na nakikita mo lang, so hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga lumilipad doon, hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga actors na nandun. Halimbawa, wag naman sana mangyari yung mga mamahaling drones nyo tamaan ng ibon. Diba? So, baka mahulog yun, tapos ginamit niya sa populated area. So, it is a very safety risk siya.
And at the end of the day, if something happens, CAAP will be the one to be consulted on such cases. For example, nabagsakan ng drone, na-damage yung property. Of course, they will report it to the local enforcement agency, but the local enforcement agency will also redirect it to civil aviation. Now, what can civil aviation do? They cannot track the one who is operating. So we're just establishing these guidelines in order for us to have accountability, and then at the same time promote responsibility or responsible use of drones.
Yes.
We know that technology is evolving. We can see more drones in the sky with various applications, especially now that we find various applications to such. Now, I think it's just the duty of and the duty of everyone to promote safety, not only civil aviation. We're also trying to help civil aviation with forming these guidelines so that everyone will be informed.
Also, there is a committee in CAAP. If you have any complaints, if you can see any violation, as long as it is verifiable, then you may report it to our operations center, to our OPSEN, and our office will investigate it, and there has been several infractions na ini-investigate na din siya. Yes, I have a question here from Curtis Ting. How about have any update? I think this goes for each
Plus
global.
personally, yung LPV drones naman is okay sa industry pero sa private area lang siya kasi when we talk about public safety, hindi siya advisable sa mga LPV drones.
Yung first question ko pala, para dun sa mga hindi nakaka
That's DJI area. But all our drones are FPV. Uses a scammer now that can transmit live. I think the one that you're pertaining is racing drones. So, hat nila yun yung classification.
Marami naman ang gumagawa.
Pwede.
Usually by groups naman yan eh. So, as long as your groups can secure right environment.
Iba, ito drone.
Okay.
Pwede na sa bahay kaya ng FPV.
I think we are up again.
Confirming wala pa.
Wala pa. May slide delete lang ata. Pero ma-reconnect naman. Disconnected.
Okay na?
I think, we are back.
Okay.
Nakuha ata yung
Power interruption.
We have some technical difficulties, when you use these kinds of technology, hindi mo maiiwasan yung mga technical difficulties talaga. And ipapasok ko na dito ang safety. That's every time I get the chance to insert this, yun, pag gumagamit ka ng technology, you do not know, you are not really sure how precise the technology is, baka magkaroon ng mga technical glitches. So, we encourage you to take safety precaution and also to register. Maisingit lang daw. Maisingit lang. So, we go back with the FPV. So, you were saying yung FPV is a first-person view. So, parang may goggles ka.
So yeah, ginagamit din naman, pwede naman na talaga yan, yung sabi ni sir sa mga private open places yun. Kasi for safety na rin talaga, yun. Kasi parang ikaw na yung nakasakay mismo sa drone kasi pag yung first person view. So they're using accessories for that. So ayun, in the industry, pwede.
Yeah, so this is in the context of racing drone. So it's all of the modification. You can actually modify and customize it. So power of every or the capability of the drone can be enhanced manually. So it depends really on your setup. So I think the main question there is, I think it's more on the operations. Usually, FPV drone racing are organized. So as long as it's in a secure perimeter, no one will get hurt. And given the limited range that it flies, I think for recreational use it won't be any problem. Yeah. Sometimes there are types of these racing drones that are flown indoors, such as whoops. So I think civil aviation will not have any problems with that. Not unless, of course, if you fly near NAIA or an airport and you start diving to aircraft as they land. So there we will have an issue there. But as long as we follow the regulations for recreational use, we don't have any issues with that one.
Julian, have you experienced any drone racing outdoors?
Oh yeah, one of our old flying fields down in Cavite was became a drone racing field, and to be honest, they just fly in close proximity, line of sight. They fly below 3 level, so they're not really gonna be a
Mm.
manned aircraft or a manned helicopter aircraft unless they're landing. But they're pretty safe, and I think they still fall under recreation, so they don't really need a license. The only problem would be if the place that they're flying is the homeowner's object. So that's going to be the problem. Homeowners or the property owner, because
Yeah.
they do cause a lot of noise. They do gather a lot of people. So it's more of that aspect lang talaga yung minsan pinapagbawalan. Pero in terms of like operating it, I think it's well within the PICAR as a recreational craft.
I have another question for PH Global. Do you conduct after-sales seminar in flying with drone? The trainings, for example. Kasi,
Instead
ano
of demo lang.
instead of demo.
Actually, pwede naman po yun, pero sa mga dealers namin, yung dealers na nagkakontak sa mga clients. Pwede po.
So,
Speaking also in extension with them because I'm one of their dealers here. So one of the challenges that we encountered is that DJI didn't really, sorry, I dropped the name of the
it's
brand.
okay, it's part of the
Didn't
discussion.
really provided any training. So what we did is that we got in touch with UASTC, which is DJI Academy in China. So we tried to get their franchise here, but apparently there were some communication issues yet. So what we did is that we made a module that can be used for training because you're actually training them for the skill, not for the drone, because the dealers can provide the product specification, they can give you the feature functionalities of this one, but not the skill technically, as well as the operational safety. So we designed that module, or the dealers designed those modules, and then we got our licenses from CAAP, and then that became our basis for training. So we also consulted with aviation schools. Of course, we have to take into perspective the other side of unmanned aerial vehicles, which is manned vehicles. So we also have to get in touch with their mindset.
Is there an option from Audit? Is there an option to rent an RPAS unit from the training provider, or the trainee is required to bring their own drone? Julian, do you conduct training?
Yes, we do conduct training, and we've also accommodated some end users wherein they don't have a drone, but they do want to learn. We do have a significant inventory of training drones for them to just practice all of these things on top of the simulator platforms as well. So at least they don't want to crash their brand new unit. They can use ours, and we're pretty much confident that they're not going to crash anyway. So that's one. But yes, if people want to get into the RPAS industry first, there's a lot of simulators, a lot of small, um, like the tiny whoops or even entry level drones that they can start with to practice first, and they're pretty reasonable now. On the business model, what we have is we have fixed wing training models. We have rotorcraft as well, and because that's a standard. We have a standard training module. So if they use a different drone, it's going to be a different flight characteristics. So we stick with essentials first. Just like with full scale aircraft, we start with a Cessna 152. or you start with a trainer first, and then you move on to your rating for different aircraft. So we do have entry level training drones for that purpose.
Just an additional note to that one. Well, if you're planning to get an RPA controller certificate, if in case you're renting out, just make sure that it's the same specification that you're gonna submit to CAAP, because problem is that you were trained for this kind of drone, and then the actual licensing is a different type of drone. Let's say you're trained for fixed wing and then you're gonna fly a multi-rotor. So probably there's a disparity with that one. Even though it shares the same system, let's say you have the same mode of controls, still the capabilities of the aircraft, there are a lot of factors that you have to consider. So I guess renting, as long as with the same specifications, same features.
Um, we also have here, naputo siya, UAS Unmanned System Consulting Philippines.
That's me.
Yung,
Julian.
That's you. Yes, that's you, Julian. I'm so sorry. Naputol yung ano. I have a question here for PH Global. Are there any prerequisite before a buyer buys a drone, such as a government agency? Do you have any prerequisites? You need anything from them before they can, so they could just go to you and then.
I think one requirement for licensing is really the OR, because you need to have the OR for the transaction of the drone for the registration. Or if it's a second-hand unit, it's more of a transfer or a deed of sale kind of deal.
But sometimes if it's donated, you can have a declaration of ownership.
We have another question here. Since I do not know anything about this topic, about these drones, nag-research ako kagabi. So I watch some, by research, I mean I watch some YouTube videos. No? Do you need, what are the important must-haves in your portfolio when you engage in a drone business? I think this goes to Julian and the principal.
Well, I mean, portfolio. I mean, really, a portfolio is a portfolio of previous works. Your safety record as well, your procedures and how you conduct yourself on the field, all the documentation required. But in terms of getting the project, it's really more really building the portfolio and a really good reference set for your business, so that they can veer towards you than the others. It's really more that.
So what are the important things that you need to secure if you're conducting business? I mean, apps, equipment.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are. I mean, like I mentioned in my presentation, there's so much manufacturers now that sell pretty good equipment. It's really more getting the right equipment, branded. Really really reliable equipment. On the back side, the right software and the right talent to operate those software as well. So it's really more just having the best, or at least having the right equipment there. It's more the important thing. Eh. And there's a lot. There's so much to mention. So yun talaga yung tama equipment, tamang tao behind it, the right training, and the right mindset as well.
We have a lot of geodetic engineers who are also watching us. Do you have any suggestion on what specifications or type of drones that they should get? Or for example, not only for geodetic engineers, but also for traffic monitoring. Do you have any suggestions? Maybe that's time with you.
I think it goes with the needs assessment. So with regards the requirements, and then that's the right time to choose the drone. We don't want to suggest or recommend, because we're not that field experts on. For example, I don't have a degree on geodetic engineering, so why would I dictate? You just give me the specifications, and I'll try to match it with the payload that is available, or by the minimum. And then what I can do is that I can give you recommendation on aircraft which can carry that on that systems. But with regards to instrument, I think the best persons to consult is really them. So we cannot give any recommendation on that one. Well, not Julian, probably us.
Well, I mean, most drone manufacturers now are really gearing towards survey, mapping, and engineering. I mean, you can buy a engineering level drone that has RTK capabilities, off the shelf and ready made. You can also have one built by an integrator, but there are also like um, drones that are already capable of the precision that is required for their business. However, I mean, even the entry level consumer drones that are there with the right software can already conduct mapping operations based on their requirement. But then again, it's the accuracy. So it's really depending on what the tolerance of the end user is in terms of how accurate that output would be. And that's more also on the people that would process the images and also turn it into the final product. So it is a chain of, and it's just not the drone. The drone is only 20% of the road. The rest is how the operator and how the engineers make use of that data.
What about from the manufacturer side? So do you give any recommendations if they come to you and they would tell you that we need this? What do you consider when you sell drones?
I think, uh, just what I said a while ago, it depends on kung saan siya gagamitin. If it's for longer use, you need to have, like, concentrate on the battery life. So, it's really depends on where the drone will be used. And we can give the best matching specifications for the user. Then if if we don't have that, like for the specific use, I think the users can integrate their own, like attach some accessories, and have
Um,
more software.
this is Mr. Eric Apolonio, our staff spokesperson. He sent in our Viber group this video of a device that can detect and hack your drone. So, well, I was so curious. So, how does it work?
Okay. Yeah, Ken.
Yes, let's start with TJ.
Yes, there are drone detection systems out there in the market. I mean, DJI makes their own system to detect their own systems. There are other more. This is really more restricted for governments. I don't think civilians can purchase this. They can detect the signals that the drone emits and can derive bearing, distance, and azimuth of the drone itself. So you can detect where it is. But the video feed interception is depending on what model is a race. Maybe one firmware would have a vulnerability, then the next firmware update would patch it. So it is a race for the security side. But there are technologies out there that can detect the drone where it's flying and the distance relative to your position. So there are technologies like that are available.
Yes,
And but
thank
hacking, also for hacking, it's not really hacking. It's more jamming or disrupting. You're just overwhelming the signal emitted by the controller of the pilot by a stronger signal source like a drone gun or a drone antenna that can jam the signal. So that's really the current technologies that are currently around.
For Kish Global, you have something to add?
For the modern drones, there are some, like, security features, but then again, it's in the software. Like, it needs constant updates for it to, to cancel out the interference when we hack. But for, like, modern and more high-end drones, they have, security features.
What about you, sir? You have experience?
The usual application for this one is really with government.
Yes.
We're cut off. everybody back.
Are we back?
No video.
Video. Yeah, we are back.
Standby. 30 seconds siguro.
Mhm. Okay, we are back. We again experienced some technical difficulties. Baka dahil masyado nang mahaba ito. Maybe I have more questions and then we're good to go. Once licensed po ba and I have the privilege to operate the drone, do you have category regarding the size of drone that you are allowed to operate, big or small, or any drone that can be operated na po?
Once used for commercial operation, so regardless of weight, kailangan i-certify ni ka.
I think classification ratings on
Ah,
ratings, for example, you're only allowed to, for example, Mavic and Phantom, you submitted the tech specs for that one. Are you only allowed to operate that? Siguro by practice, yes, because you don't have the proficiency to operate other aircrafts. Yeah.
And dun sa certification, once given operator certificate, yung kasamang operation specification, specified lang siya dun sa drone na gagamitin sa operation.
I have a question here. What about those RPAS users who use their drone for commercial operation, but they are freelancer or they don't belong to any organization? What is the process or the requirements? First, pag freelancer ba, kailangan nilang kumuha ng ROC? Halimbawa, media, and then you will hire somebody to take yung mga shots for you. And freelancer yun, hindi mo naman siya employee.
But business principle kasi, for example, like doctors, they register for as a business entity they by themselves, personal. So in turn, it also extend to you as an individual if you're a freelancer. That you also have to comply with business franchise requirements because you're doing it commercially. The only concern here is that you're no longer identified as a company, but the company itself is embodied in the personal, yung individual.
Julian, you have something to add?
Some kasi are more into the mantra of tag mo dito. Ano ba yung tawag doon? Ask forgiveness than permission.
Mm.
So yun yung nagiging trend lately eh. Yung wait lang, then hala na siguro kung ma-report ako or whatever. So yeah, that's the reality of the whole situation. And some kasi are either they think they're too small to, because of course it's also the cost of the registration. So compared to them earning 3,000, 5,000 per shoot, but the registration is double that, they just rather opt to just go not register at all. So it's really depends on what the situation of the freelancer is. But yes, it's right. I mean, even doctors would have to have a OR or a business permit, even if they're a individual person. So tama lang na dapat kailangan mag-register, but the capability of the individual to do so is depende na sa tao yun.
But John, we were talking about that last week. Yes.
Perfect example sa freelancer, si Sir Julian. Isa siya sa mga pioneers natin na kumuha ng operator certificate. So, mag-isa lang si Sir Julian, siya na rin yung operations manager, chief controller, and maintenance controller. Siya po.
Okay.
Perfect example po siya.
Julian is a perfect example. And we were also talking about the operation specification last time. And then, can we, halimbawa may dadagdag ka na freelancer, can you amend your op specs to include your freelancer para hindi na siya gumastos?
Yes. We can, you just have to submit a letter amendment for the operations specification para ma-include si freelancer dun sa company niya.
Baka hindi lang po alam nung iba, then you could also do it just to save some for the expenses. I think we have last two questions. Question for TJ. What commercial application has the highest profit margin? So, Mr. RV Perez. Sir, pakita ka ba po?
Yeah. So, RV, like what I mentioned, it's really depending on who your client is. I mean, if you can do an engineering project, a big aerial survey or engineering inspection project, it just depends on how much you'll charge the person. But yes, I think the more of the bigger the bigger chunk of the industry now is really gearing towards the engineering and inspection space because that requires more better equipment and more safer equipment which costs more. So you as a business owner can demand a little bit of a higher profit than the regular AVP wedding kasal libing na mga shooters. So yes, it's more in the engineering and the construction technical space. That's where it's at right now.
I think that is our last question. Any final words for our viewers? Tumatawa si John kasi tapos na kinakabahan siya.
No.
Any final words for our viewers?
Meron ako.
Yes.
Kahit saan tayo magpalipad ng drone, all over the Philippines, di ba? So, sana maisip natin na hindi lang tayo yung nasa airspace. Hindi lang drones yung nasa airspace. There are also manned aircraft na once na matamaan ng mga drones is there could cause casualty or fatalities. So please po, always yield to manned aircraft. Always yield to manned aircraft po. Pag nakita pa lang po natin, ibaba na po natin yung drone natin.
Yes. Yung last session din, I would always keep on repeating this. Just imagine yourself being in those manned aircraft or not only you, your family, kasi mahilig na tayo mag-travel ngayon. Travel is very accessible by air ngayon. So, what if you can see that drone ka-level nung manned aircraft na sinasakyan mo, nung large aircraft na sinasakyan mo, and wag naman sanang mangyari pumasok sa engine ng aircraft. That is a very big disaster. So, Julian, you have final words?
Yeah, I mean, I started getting into the CAA process when it started, when PICAR 11, hindi pa nga PICAR 11 ata yun parang more on MC pa lang siya. Circular pa lang siya. I mean, for those who want to get to the industry and get registered, it is not hard as how I went through it before. It's after the 2 meetings we organized with CAAP where the stakeholders came together, the processes have been streamlined. Mas konti na requirements mas sobrang konti na requirements than it was 2, 3, 4 years back. And the CAAP already has, hindi na sila nangangapa, they have a workflow already on who to talk to, what processes you have to get into, and what paperwork to fill. So don't be intimidated in terms of getting your licenses. I mean, si John, andyan yung mga ibang taga-licensing, andyan yung mga taga-airworthiness, they would really help you out to get started. Huwag ka matakot na bakit ganito or ganyan. They're there to help you out. And it's more easier now than 2, 3, 4 years back. So now is the right time to get into RPAS, and now is the right time to really get into being fully compliant with the regulations because of the safety and the accountability of the whole thing when you operate in the airspace.
Another question pala kay John. May list ba tayo ng operators accredited by CAAP?
Yes, we have a list in our website.
You can check it out.
All RPAS operators, nandun po sa website natin. You can download it.
Final words, sir, from PH Global.
Ayun, always fly safe and fly responsive. Kasi even kunwari mga manned aircraft, kahit sabihin natin na hindi naman tayo lumapit. Minsan kasi yung airflow, kunwari, mga vacuumized or mag-destabilize yung drone, which is matatamaan pa rin yung manned aircraft. So, better, always do.
Yes. So, and ating co-moderator guest for today who saved you saved a lot of lives. Mr. John Rafael Escobar, sir, kasi hindi ka naka-final words no,
Before na-cut eh.
na-cut siya. So, it's your chance to have your final reminders.
I think for startup commercial operators or aspiring commercial operators, it's consider it as a way for you to be more proficient to your clients, to secure this to secure these clearances, to secure these licenses, and the good thing about it is that it opens an opportunity for you to be more professional to your clients. Okay, I mean you might possess the skill already. You have invested in equipments, but again, having this having undergone through many process of applying for permits and clearance is actually helpful for you to understand the industry and especially to level up your business. So I would really encourage those startups to invest in this kind of in the right way. So that's it.
Finally, naka-final word si Mr. Escobar. We would like to thank you all for registering. We received an overwhelming number of registration. Nung first part po namin, we have 800. And our views for first part for the regulation. So if you missed our first part wherein Mr. Escobar was also there, we discussed about the air laws, regulations, and basic operations. So if you're new to this drone industry or if you're just curious, you may take a look at the first part. It's been, ewan ko, the last time I checked, it has 1,000 views, diba? So you might check it. So we will also upload the 4 parts of the series in our CAAP website and in Facebook. And we also formed a Facebook group for the drone enthusiasts who would like to just connect. You may find it. We will, I think we will post it in our CAAP website as well as in our Facebook account. And we would like to thank, final words from me. Yun, paulit-ulit ko na sigurong sinasabi that we should always take precaution, we should always yield to man the aircraft. And we here in CAP would just like to just promote safety, not to compel you to do anything, but to also look after yourselves, your properties, and your family. So we do not want any untoward incidents to happen. And thank you for taking time to watch this. And we would like to thank several people. We will post this online. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines is located in Naiya Road. And the number for our operations center, if you have any questions, it's open 24/7. It's 0917-515-6972. And we will post the numbers of our CAAP offices for your inquiries. And we would like to thank our speakers for part 1, Attorney Frank Edward G. Marty, our acting chief in the Regulatory Standards Department. Siya po yung nag-discuss ng air laws. Mr. John Rafael Escobar is with us here. For part 2, from the licensing department, Mr. Eduardo Ebasco, Mr. John Christian B. Cala, Helen Patizar, George Patizar, Lieutenant Colonel William Alfred T. Rodriguez. For part 3, Ms. Rhoda Batan, Mr. Edmund Lexter P. Eclarinal from the Air Traffic Service. For Part 4, Mr. Wilhelmino Guevara Jr., Mr. Julian Teodoro, he is with us online. Thank you so much, Julian. Mr. Hans Sebontoy and
Giovanni.
Mr. Giovanni
Cornejo.
Mr. Giovanni Cornejo from PH Global, and our co-moderator, Mr. John Rafael Escobar. We would also like to thank the following: the Office of the Director General and the Flight Standards Inspectorate Service for allowing us to conduct this webinar series, for approving our proposal. Yes, we would also like to thank the Media Communications Office for their assistance, Sir Benedict for editing all our videos, Sir Jeff for for all the advices sa mga lighting, sa mga blocking, the Management Information System Division for assisting us, for always coming to our rescue whenever we have technical difficulties, the communications, corporate communication staff, Corporate Planning Office, Sir Marco Javier, thank you so much for your support. For the MCO, Sir Eric Apolinario, thank you so much. The RPAS Webinar Coordination Group of we have in Viber, thank you so much for your help. Konti na lang. The Office of the Department Manager of the RSD, Attorney Frank, thank you for allowing us to use your office. So we have been using his office most of the time. The Airman Records Management Division, and our second part, we used one of their offices wherein you can find the Airman Records at our back. The ARMD, Miss Glenda, thank you. And we would like to, the Regulatory Standards Development Division would like to thank you for your overwhelming support, and hope to see you next time. I hope you learned something from us. Bye. Thank you, Julian.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. So